Welcome, dear friends, to a fascinating story of unwavering compassion and the power of love to heal. Even the deepest wounds enjoy the story.
Dr. Andrew Anderson, the attending physician, called out to Vincent, "I want you to take a look at her x-rays and see if you can figure out the cause of her injuries. We'll go over your findings in the morning." Vincent nodded, his heart racing. This was his chance to prove himself, to show that he had what it took to become a real doctor. As he sat in front of the glowing screens, he couldn't shake the feeling that this case would change everything. Hours passed as Vincent carefully studied every fracture and bruise, trying to piece together what had happened to the elderly woman. Exhaustion tugged at his eyelids, and soon, he found himself slipping into a restless sleep. Suddenly, he was no longer in the hospital. He was back in his childhood home, watching in fear as his mother suffered from the abuse of his father. "You think you can leave me?" his father had roared, fists raised in anger. Vincent's stepfather had arrived just in time to intervene, wrestling his father to the ground. But the trauma of that night had never left him. Vincent jolted awake, his heart pounding. The x-rays blurred before his eyes, but now, with a painful clarity, he understood the woman's injuries. She hadn't just been hurt by accident. She had been beaten. As Dr. Anderson walked into the room, Vincent steeled himself. "These injuries," he began, pointing to the x-rays, "they're not from a fall. They're from an assault. Someone did this to her." Dr. Anderson nodded grimly. "I feared as much. But who could do such a thing?" Before Vincent could respond, Olivia, another medical student, entered the room. "I heard about the new patient. Some old lady probably got beaten up by her husband, fighting over something trivial," she said dismissively. Vincent felt anger rise in his chest, but Dr. Anderson spoke up first, his voice firm. "Olivia, if you can't show compassion, perhaps this isn't the place for you. We take these cases seriously, and you should too." As Olivia left, Vincent admired Dr. Anderson even more. He wasn't just a brilliant doctor, he was a leader who stood up for what was right. "We need to find out who did this," Vincent said with newfound determination. "And we need to make sure they never hurt anyone again." Later, Vincent found himself standing at the elderly woman's bedside. His mother had sent a care package for her, homemade cookies and a soft blanket, small comforts for someone who had been through so much. The woman's eyes fluttered open. Who are you?" she asked, her voice weak. "My name is Vincent," he said gently. "I'm one of the medical students. I brought you some things from my mother to help you feel more comfortable." Fear flickered in the woman's eyes. You have to help me," she whispered, her hand trembling as it reached for his. "My son did this to me. He's dangerous. Please, tell him I died. I can't let him find me." Vincent's heart sank. He had suspected something like this, but hearing her confirm it was heartbreaking. "You're safe now," he reassured her. "We won't let anyone hurt you." Just then, Zoe, another nurse, rushed in. "Vincent, we have a problem. Her son is here, and he's causing a scene at the nurse's station." Vincent felt a surge of anger. He turned to Zoe. "Stay with her. Don't let anyone in until I get back." As he approached the nurse's station, he saw the man, a hulking figure, towering over Grace, one of the nurses. "I have every right to see her," the man shouted, his face red with rage. Grace stood her ground, but Vincent could see her fear. The man raised his hand as if to strike her, but Vincent was there in an instant, slamming him against the wall. "If you ever come near your mother again, you'll regret it," Vincent growled, his voice low and firm. "Now get out of here before I call the police." The man's bravado crumbled and he slunk away, muttering threats. Vincent turned to Grace, his concern replacing the anger. "Are you okay?" he asked gently. Grace nodded, her eyes brimming with tears. "Thanks to you." Vincent smiled at her, feeling a warmth spread through him. He had always admired Grace's kindness and strength, and now, standing there with her, he realized just how much she meant to him. Dr. Anderson soon arrived. "We need to report this to the police," he said. "This has gone on long enough." Vincent agreed, his hand finding Grace's as they walked together down the hall, ready to face whatever came next. Weeks later, Vincent and his mother helped Grandma Ethel out of the car. They had brought her home, away from the fear and danger she had endured for so long. As they entered the house, Grandma Ethel's eyes filled with tears. "It's so beautiful," she whispered. "I never thought I'd feel safe again." "You'll never have to worry about being alone or afraid anymore," Vincent's mother assured her with a smile. Just then, the doorbell rang, and Vincent's heart skipped a beat. He opened the door to see Grace standing there, her arms full of groceries. "I brought some food for Grandma Ethel," she said shyly. "I hope I'm not intruding." Vincent's smile widened. "You could never intrude," he said softly. "In fact, I was hoping you might come by more often." Grace blushed, her eyes sparkling. "I'd like that," she whispered. I think I'm falling for you, Vincent." His heart soared as he reached out to take her hand. "I'm falling for you too, Grace." They stood there, the warmth of their connection filling the room, knowing that together, they could face anything. Life was full of challenges, but with Grace by his side, Vincent knew that he could handle whatever came his way. This was only the beginning of their journey, and they would walk it together, always fighting for what was right, always standing by each other's side.